Hello, welcome back. Do you even remember me? I'm so sorry. It's been such a long time, but welcome back. This is my June reading wrap up, even though it's like halfway through June already. Oh well, at least better late than never, right? Right? So right now I don't really have any good excuses for why this video is super duper late. Mostly I was on vacation like the beginning of June, so it was always gonna be a little bit late, and then I've just been like not doing anything. And also I've kind of gotten into a slump. I've not really read anything since these books. I've read one book in July, and it was like the very beginning, and I'm like halfway through a book now, which I really like. I just am not in the mood to read really right now, which is fine. We all go through those spells. Um, but yeah, I'm just going through a little slump right now. So July's is probably going to be pretty lame. At least it's looking like that right now. But anyways, so in June, I read 8 books and one novella. So definitely not my best month, but I'm going to give myself a break because like I said, I had my family vacation and other things. I feel like reading's all about fun. So I read 8 books and one novella. Cool. I also don't remember the order I read them in, like, at all. Like, I literally don't even remember most of what happened in June. That sounds bad. I just mean, like, I don't know the order of things. It's just been, like, one jumbled mess. So this is not the order I read it in, probably, but it's the order you're gonna get, and you're gonna like it. Okay, so the first book I'm gonna say that I read in June, which I don't even think is right, is Stuck With You, which is the novella by Ali Hazelwood, which is the second in the Stemcinist novellas. I already talked about the first one, Under One Roof. I already talked about that. That was in my May reading wrap up. It must have been. But yeah, but so basically, Stuck With You is Sadie. Yeah, Sadie is our main girl, and they're all in STEM, all 3 girls that are in the thing, whatever, but she works for this like eco company or something like that. I don't remember the details, but basically she went on this date with this dude Eric, who she really liked, and was like had the best first date ever, and was super duper into him and thought they were gonna have like this great future or whatever. And then something happened, and flash forward, I think it's like 3 weeks later or something, and they get stuck in an elevator together, and they're no longer like talking. Like something happened and they're no longer on like good terms. Um, so interesting premise. I love forced proximity. I am obviously, I say it time and time again, I'm not huge on second chance romance, but I think this one was fine because it was more just like the miscommunication, and like it wasn't that long and it wasn't that serious, you know what I mean? So it was like they weren't in love, so it was easier. From what I remember, I like the characters, and I thought like the story was good. Again, I kind of remember wishing that it was just a full blown novel. Like I don't really understand why she made it a novella, because I would have enjoyed this as a full length book, but uh, it's a good novella too. Um, and I can't wait for the next one. I have it coming up on the library, so hopefully that'll be in July's reading wrap up. Okay, next book I'm not really going to talk about too terribly much because I already made a separate video on it that you can watch. I'll link down below, but it's The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This was a reread for me. I read this like way back in the day for me, like I don't know, like circa 2012, 2013. I don't even remember. Probably, yeah, somewhere around there. And yeah, I mean, I read it before the TV show came out. And if you don't know anything about it, basically it's about this girl, Isabel or Isabella, I don't know, but she goes by Belly, and basically her and her mom's best friend, every single summer their 2 families go to Cousins Beach and like have this beach house together, and they have since they were like literally born. And they spend the whole summer together. So basically, Belly has her brother Steven, and then the other family is Conrad and Jeremiah. So, and they're all like around the same age. And basically, Belly has always had a crush on Conrad, but he has never really reciprocated those feelings. And then this is like the summer she turned pretty, and like Jeremiah and Conrad both kind of start noticing her. And Jeremiah is kind of, he's more of like, they've always been best friends, and it was very like friendship energy, but they were like a lot closer. Um, yeah, so pretty good book. It's definitely young adult. Okay, the next book was, this was a book series. This was like the next thing I read was, I read the Brutal Birthright series, which is by Sophie Lark, which I didn't know this, but apparently that is, because she also wrote the Kingmaker series, which I have previously read. I read the first 4 books of it, but now there's a 5th book. But I read the first 4 books a while ago, I think in like January or February or something. And then I did not realize that the Brutal Birthright series is like a prequel series, kind of, if you will. It's like about the parents, and then like the Kingsmaker series is about their children. So I read it backwards. I read like the kids first, and then I read the parents, which is kind of disappointing to me because I am a sucker for like when they do that. I love when they do the trope of like, I don't know, it's not really a trope, but I love when they do like, you get to know the parents and you get to know their love story, and then you get to see their kids and like the kids that you see maybe even in some of the books and stuff. I love when they do that. And I messed it up, and that was on me. So don't do what I did and read, if you are interested in either, read Brutal Birthright. Yeah, Brutal Birthright first before you read the Kingmaker series. It doesn't change. I mean, like, it didn't like hinder my enjoyment of the Kingmaker series. I really liked the Kingmaker series, but I think it would have added some much needed like information, especially like thinking about like the heir, and like thinking about like the relationships and stuff. Like they kind of just like jumped in, and I was like, oh my god, they didn't really explain this that well, because you were supposed to know, because it's in the other books. So whatever. But basically, so the first one is Brutal Prince, and I don't know why I'm looking at this, I literally know. And it's the story of Ada and Callum. Yay, fun. And also, these are all mafia books, if I didn't say that. I don't think I did. So these are all mafia books, and in Chicago. So Ada is a gallo, and Callum is a griffin. Cool. Basically what happens, they're feuding families, just, and one night, Ada is like the troublemaker. She's the youngest in her family, and she decides to like, she convinces her older brothers to like go to the Griffin's party and like just crash the party or whatever. It's Nessa's birthday party, one of the Griffins, and they're like, okay, sure, whatever. And then while they're there, she like sneaks off and like goes into this library, and then she has to hide, and eventually to get out, she sets this small fire that ends up burning down their library in their home, and Callum sees her. So Callum sees her do this, and they kind of have this little like tiff, no, what is that word? Little rumble, sure, that's a better word. They have a little rumble, and basically to smooth over peace between both families, both of the fathers kind of decide that Ada and Callum should get married. So it is a like forced marriage, I guess I should say, like an unwanted marriage, but like it's their duty and like all of that. I said duty, haha. But they get married, and they both like don't like each other, and then it's like enemies to lovers, and then they start liking each other. Their son is Miles, who Miles is the main character in The Rebel, which I loved. I really liked that book in the Kingmaker series. But anyways, I think it was fun. I don't think they talk about Ada a lot of being like, oh my god, she's so cool and like so with it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. She was nothing like special to me. Like I definitely didn't dislike her. She was not my favorite girl in the series. But I was just like, okay. But I do, like I said, I do wish I had read this before, because then Miles, I think, has characteristics of his parents, and I remember distinctly there are scenes with his parents in it that would have meant more to me. But anyways, it was good. I think it was like a fine introduction to the series. Okay, the next one is Stolen Heir, also in the same series by Sophie Lark. And this is the story of Nessa, who is a griffin. She's Callum's younger sister. And Mikolai, or Miko, who is like the head of the Polish mafia. Basically the story is, I mean, I guess these are kind of spoilers for it, but like it's just the mafia stuff that happens in it. But I guess if you care about that, warning, I'm just going to talk about like the mafia happenings because you kind of have to. But basically, I guess I won't do it too bad, but someone, well, I guess not someone, the Griffins end up killing Miko's like adopted father and the head of the Polish mafia. So Miko like inherits it, and he wants to get revenge, and he decides to go on this plan of kidnapping Nessa and doing all these other things to like get back at the Griffins, basically. So yeah, so it is a classic mafia romance of stealing your like bride. I guess they don't get married right away, but it's like stealing whatever, and it's like Beauty and the Beast, I guess, 'cause it's supposed to be like captor and like whatever. Which I didn't really get the Beauty and the Beast references. Like I keep seeing people like saying it's like a Beauty and Beast mafia retelling, and I guess that's just because like she's a captive, but I'm also like, I guess, but I don't know, Beauty and the Beast is more like she sacrificed herself for, okay, whatever. I'm not going to get into Beauty and the Beast, but I don't really think it's that comparable to Beauty and the Beast. But anyways, yeah, so I don't know. This one was just like also to me. I don't know. They are the parents of Anna Wilk and Kara, who is probably, she's like a side character right now from the Kingmaker series. Might get her own book or something later. But I hated Anna. She was one of my least favorite characters. I don't want to say of the year, but like pretty dang close. And I don't like her. So the whole time I knew that they were the parents of her, and I was like, I'm so interested to see if I dislike them because I dislike Anna. No, I really like Miko. I think Miko's a great character. I'm always a sucker for like the very hard, mean, calloused men who like then turn to be softies for like the women they love. I love that trope. It takes me back to my humble fanfic beginnings, I feel like. But I mean, Nessa was fine to me. Nessa's like the classic. It's like a classic bad boy, good girl trope book too. Nessa's like a ballerina and very like regal and like very naive. She doesn't really like have anything to do in the mafia world. Like she doesn't do anything for her family and stuff. So I thought it was interesting, but it was just like, like I didn't like love it. It was just kind of there for me. But I didn't hate it. I think I read it pretty quickly. So like pretty good. Okay, next in the Brutal Birthright series is Savage Lover, which is as cringy of a book as the title indicates. And it's the story of Nero, who is a gallo, and Camille, who's like an outsider. I don't know. I did not like this book like at all. It was super boring to me. It was reminiscent of oh my god, what's it called? Adamo's book, and I think it's just Twisted Cravings, I think it's his book, but the Adamo's book in the Kimura Chronicles, Cora Riley Mafia universe, it's very like that to me, where it's like they are in the mafia, but they're more interested in like cars. Very specific trope. I don't know why. I keep saying trope. I need to stop saying trope also. Very specific thing. They're very into cars instead of like the mafia world kind of. And then they kind of just fall for like an outsider. That's like the story of both books, and both of them bored me to no ends. This one is like Nero and Camille went to high school together. Camille is very poor and owns like a car repair shop with her dad. But her dad's really sick, so she has to do like most of the work. And Nero is like the wild one who he's this, so the Gallows family is Dante, Nero, Sebastian, then Aida. So he's the second brother, and he kind of is the one that always gets in trouble. He's the most reckless, but he's also the smartest, and he's also kind of like the best at like stealing and the best at like, I don't know, like a bunch of stuff like that. But he's not good at like responsibility and all of that. So he Yeah, great, cool. It was just like, it was just boring to me. I think that's the best word to describe it. It was just boring. I don't think I disliked either one of the characters necessarily. I just was bored during the whole thing. And I guess the stakes were high, but it was also like they weren't, because there were no really like consequences for any of the decisions they make. And it was just like, okay, like that was really fun, I guess. Like, I don't know. I was just bored. I was bored. But fun fact, as I said, the first four Kingmakers are out, and so is the fifth. So misspoke. There are five Kingmakers books out, and I read the first four because the fifth one wasn't out then. But then at the end of this, I read the fifth one, which is the book. It's about Sabrina, who is the daughter of Nero and Camille. So I got to read that with knowing the parents, which was kind of cool. I'll talk about it later, but that was kind of fun. So that was the only book that I've been able to do that for in this series. But okay, the next book in the series is Bloody Heart, and that is the story of Dante Gallo, who's the oldest Gallo sibling, and Simone, who's another outsider. Also disappointing to me. He was Dante himself. To me, was reminiscent of Dante from the Cora Riley series. Well, Cora Riley's the author, but you know what I mean. Of just, they're so boring. I don't get it. I don't get these men. I don't get the attraction to these men. They're so boring to me. I don't get it. Like, they don't they're like the kind of guy that like doesn't really say what they feel, doesn't really like say much, is very like aggressive towards other people, very like protective, um very like responsible. I don't know. I guess I've seen this like kind of guy done right. My mind always goes back to The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. Like, I love that book. I think they did a great job of making that guy interesting to me and making it like I loved the story. But then it's like Dante's have really are really just not it for me. The name has just not done me good in the book universe. Dante was like stealing a car to get away from like bad guys, whatever, and he ends up stealing Simone's car, which Simone is in it, and they like have this moment and they like lock eyes and like talk, whatever, and like she wants to like see him again. She's also like the daughter of someone important. I do not remember his job. Maybe he's like an ambassador or something. I literally have no memory of what her father does, but he's like someone important and they move around a lot. I don't know. And they meet and like whatever, and then she like starts liking him and tries to like sneaks out to see him, and then like this whole summer it's just like them sneaking around, whatever. Stuff happens and she basically like leaves Dante forever, kind of. And then it's like 9 years in the future, and Dante and Simone see each other again, and they kind of have to face things from their past, is basically the story. So it's a second chance romance, which obviously, boo. And then in like a proper one. And it's boring to me, and I also didn't like what they ended up doing with Dante's story, just like in general. Like, he was kind of at the start of the book, he was kind of like the figurehead of the Gallo family. Like, he was basically running it. He was going to get it from his father. He's the rightful whatever heir to the throne of the Italian mafia. And I don't know, I don't really like what the decisions they made for like Sophie made for Dante, but I didn't really care because I don't really care about Dante. So at the end of the day, I was just like, oh, okay. Next one is the story. It's Broken Vow, and it is the story of. Okay, I'm not 100% how to pronounce her name, because I thought, and some places said it was like Riona, but then I like heard one and it sounded like Fiona. So I'm not 100% sure which way you're supposed to say, because it's like a classic Irish name. So I don't really know. I'm gonna say Riona, but it might be Fiona, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. But anyway, it's Riona and Raylan story, which also Riona is the middle Griffin child, so she is the younger sister of Callum and is the older sister of Nessa. And basically, there was an assassination attempt on her. I guess I should just say like a murder attempt, not assassination. That's like way more intense. Anyways, and because of that, her family like decides to put this bodyguard on her, which is Raylan. He is a friend of Dante's from when Dante was overseas in the military. So he decides to come and do this job, and he's like a southern boy. I think he's from Tennessee, or yeah, that seems right. I think he's from Tennessee. And yeah, he's just been like all over and whatever. So she doesn't really want a bodyguard, and she like doesn't like it and is all angry about it, whatever. Eventually they start like falling in love and all this stuff. Okay, basically I was bored. This was the like these books started getting like boring for me. I was bored during these. Like the last two I was bored. This one I was just kind of bored too. I was very excited for it because I personally very much like mafia romances with like them falling for their bodyguard or whatever. I think it's very fun. I think it's like cute because it's like a hint of like forbidden romance, but like it's not that bad. And like I always like when they obviously can like choose their love instead of just like forced in a marriage, especially in like mafia world and stuff. So I like that like setup for a mafia romance, but I just don't think it was like done that well. Again, I don't really like what they did with like Riona's story at the end. Like it's the same thing as Dante. Like they both just kind of give up the mafia world, which I'm like, you can't do that. That's like the number one rule of the mafia. It's like blood in, blood out. But then it's also like, I don't think they would do that. Like, they wouldn't leave their family. And like, I don't know. So I wasn't a huge fan of it, and I was just like, whatever. It was just like one of those that I was just like, okay, I want to like finish this. I want to get through it. Speaking of books that you're just trying to get through, the last but not least of the series is Heavy Crown. This is the story of Sebastian Gallo and Yelena. I have no memory of what her last name is. She is Russian. Fun. So basically, the story of this one is Sebastian is, he's kind of like floating in when the book starts, because he was going to be this like great basketball player and kind of wasn't even that involved in the business of the mafia world, and then his dreams kind of get shattered and now he doesn't really know what to do with his life. And he like slowly through the series is like working his way like kind of into the mafia world again, which was interesting, kind of fun. And then now I don't know, and now he's like kind of taking on more responsibilities and stuff for the family because Dante is gone and Nero is like in love, and Ada is also aligned with the Griffin, so it's like she can't really like fully take over as the heir. Anyways, so he basically, okay, whatever. So basically he meets Yelena, like he saves her from like this guy who's trying to kidnap her, and he realizes who she is, and like the Russians and the Gallows are like fighting at this point. So he's like nervous, but he's like, no, that shouldn't like let us like keep us from being involved together or whatever. So he like tries to convince her dad to like let them go out or whatever, but little does he know that like it was all a plan, and Yelena was sent to get a date with Sebastian to like lure like Sebastian in, because her father wants to like revenge all of the stuff that the Gallows have done to the Russians. And then as like the story progresses, Yelena starts being like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I like Sebastian and whatever. But then she's also like, but he's never going to trust me because I've been lying the whole time. And yeah, I don't think this book was as boring or as bad to me as the last three were, as Nero's book, Dante's book, and Riona's book. Those were the most boring ones to me. I think it was better than that, but it was still not everything I wanted. But it was fine. I don't know. And it's also kind of fun because Yelena and Sebastian are the parents of Leo Gallo, who is like the main character in The Heir, which is the first book in the Kingsmaker series, which I didn't love or hate Leo that much. I was just kind of like indifferent on him. but I think it was kind of cool, and then it also sets up the story of the heir very well. Again, if I read it, it would have made a lot more sense to me. I mean, I figured it out eventually, but whatever. It would have been easier. But yeah, I don't know. It was just like, the series finished, and I kind of was like, yay, it's done. I don't have to read these books anymore. It was kind of the feeling I felt, which is sad, but I like other books of Sophie Lark's. I think the Kingmaker series is a better series overall for me personally, so I can't be that mad at her. Okay, so the last book I read in June was The Savage by Sophie Lark, which is the 5th book and the last book of, at least right now, in the Kingmaker series, which again is the like second series or whatever after Brutal Birthright. So I like went back and finished, or like went back and did it. So basically it's the story of Sabrina and Adric, which Sabrina is the daughter of Nero and Camille, as I've previously said, and she's like cousins with like Anna and Leo and like whatever, a bunch of people that I'm not going to get into. The Kingsmaker series, I've talked about it, but I liked the heir a lot. I loved the rebel. I loved the bully, and then the spy was like very to me, and the savage finishing it off, worst. By far the worst. I did not really enjoy the savage. Honestly, I almost DNF'd it because I was like, I don't know if I can finish this, but I was like, fun fact, this was my 100th book of the year, was The Savage, and I was like, I feel like I have to finish it. I just need to, like, get through it, finish it. It was, when I was on vacation, and I was just like, put your head down and, like, barrel through, and it's fine. It was so stupid to me. Basically, she meets Adric, and they kind of have this, like, whirlwind romance of, if you can even call it a romance. I don't even think it was very romantic. It wasn't romantic at all, but it was just, like, of them meeting and like hanging out and like doing a bunch of stuff together, and then being apart for a long time, and then like coming back together, and then being like super passionate, super intense again. Basically, he's trying to take Moscow, so he invites her to come out to Moscow with her and like be a part of his team basically, and like be his equal. So she eventually agrees and goes out there and like joins his team, and then they basically have bumps along the road of trying to figure out like how to be equals and everything, because like he said, he got her out there with saying that they were going to be equals, but then he's still kind of the boss, and she's like, I'm not cool with that, like I want to be heard, I want to make decisions too, and like, so they kind of have struggles with that of like how to have two super dominant like personalities and opinions in business and in just life. I think my biggest qualm with this book was just, it wasn't romantic, it wasn't like anything, like it just was like, I felt like we just jumped in. It was like, they met earlier in The Spy, and then it was like, they were in this book, and then it was like, instantly, they're just like, together. Like, there was no build up, it was just like, instantly they're together, instantly you're supposed to be rooting for them. I'm like, why? I don't know if they even go that well together. And they kept just saying stuff of like, I feel like in the book too, like Adric would just be like, she keeps surprising me, like she's the only one that surprises me. It felt like very like stupid to me, of both of them were just like, he's so different from other guys, and like she's so different from other girls, and it was just like silly to me, and it was just like exhausting. It also took place outside of Kingmakers, which I don't understand how this is really part of the Kingmaker series, because the whole thing about Kingmakers is that they don't all take place solely at Kingmakers, but it's like fun because it's like a boarding school, and all these stories are intertwined. And also one thing I really liked about the Kingmaker series is that all of the books had 3 perspectives. I think The Spy did, but at least the first 3 100% did. Pretty sure the 4th did too. And that was such a cool thing to me, of like, you have your main characters talking, but then you have someone else's take on it and some other story that's going on, but from someone else's perspective. I thought it was super cool, and like a super cool way of doing it, and she just did away with it. There's both of their perspective, but it's like, I want a third perspective. I want that third one that would then set up like the next book, and I feel like they're not linking her to anyone, of like, I don't know who the next book would be. I think they're trying to make it, like Sophie was trying to make it kind of like Kara, which is her cousin, like, and they said, they're like, oh, they're so close. She's like barely in it, and like they hinted at like at the very beginning that she kind of has a crush on, oh my god, what is his name? That one dude. I don't remember him, but like that she kind of has a crush on him. But like it doesn't take place at Kingmaker, so it's like not around any of these people, and it's because Adric is so much older than Sabrina. But I don't understand why it couldn't have been like they could have snuck out a couple of times. They could have like snuck her a phone. Like, I mean, like I think we would have to suspend our disbelief a little bit, but I think that would have been better. I don't know, maybe that's just me. So it was just boring, and it was just like, it was the first book in a long time that I wanted to DNF, and honestly, I think that's contributing to my now reading slump, because I had to struggle through that book, and then I finished a different book that was pretty easy, and then I'm halfway through this book, and I stopped reading it because we got home from vacation, and then I've not gotten back to reading since we came home from vacation. So I don't know, I would not really suggest The Savage, but I would suggest the rest of the series. But to be fair, I also saw other people on TikTok very recently suggesting The Savage to everyone and saying it's like one of their favorite books of the year. So who's to say? I mean, everything's subjective. Well, this June reading wrap-up basically just became a Sophie Lark video. Basically just a Brutal Birthright series video. But anyways, thank you for watching. So sorry it's been so long. I honestly am filming this and I don't even feel like editing it tonight, so I don't even know when this is going to come out. So thank you for having patience with me, and you look really, 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 really beautiful today, and I hope someone told you, but if not, I just did. So I hope you're having a great summer and are doing things that you find fun and everything, and are also reading as much or as little as you want. I think my next video is going to be about the first 100 books I read in the year, because I did actually get 100 books in before 6 months of the year were over. Woot woot. So half a year and 100 books down. So I'll probably do a little video about all the books I read. But until then, thank you for watching this video, and you beautiful, amazing, lovely, creative, brilliant person, and I hope you have a great rest of the month. Mwah.